Hey everyone, welcome to Real Talk Fire. Today we have a special treat for you. We have the CCO of Cuvée Collective here, a Napa Valley wine Web3 digital token NFT company. But I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Dan, why don't you just introduce yourself really quickly and tell us a little bit about Cuvée?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me on here. So I'm Dan, or Daniele Del Grosso. I'm the Chief Creative Officer of Libation Labs, which has a product called Cuvée Collective, which is the thing that we are branding and showcasing to the world at the moment. And it's essentially a wine NFT club. And the NFTs that we are providing are linked to real wine brands. Currently, we're focusing on Napa and Sonoma in the US, but the idea is to expand all over the world and go to all the regions that are producing wine. And essentially, we are focusing our NFTs to be on experiences of visiting real wineries, but also having digital events. And each NFT is basically linked to the story of that wine brand. So we really want people who have an interest in wine to learn more about different wine brands, and just have fun with family and friends and things like that.
That is something that I love. I'm near Napa Valley. For those you don't know, I'm in Oakland, California. Napa's only an hour away, so I'm there every year for the wife's birthday. It's kind of a tradition now. And how did the idea come about? I know Andrew's the CEO. Is he native to Napa? I know you're over there across the pond in London. Tell us, how did you guys come together? What is there a problem that's being solved or a big opportunity? How did you guys come up with Cuvée Collective?
So Andrew, yeah, he's the CEO. He's born and raised in Napa.
Oh, wow,
his
okay.
family have been linked to wine. I think it's Andrew's grandfather grew grape. My family, because I'm half Italian, we've also produced wine ages and ages ago. So that wasn't really the link, actually. It's me and Andrew, we both previously worked in a company beforehand, and it was our first sort of startup sort of. Mm-hmm. So we both worked in the London office of this company, and we just kind of connected from there. And then last year we were just chatting about different things, and then we were just like, maybe we should just start up a company together, and just do something. And at that point, it was Andrew who was like, I'm looking into blockchain technologies and what it can provide. So he was very much coming in from that angle. And I think the reason why he spoke to me is because I'm like half engineer, half creative. And so he knows that I'm a very much a fan of brands and member clubs and things like that. And I like sort of high quality lifestyle sort of experiences. And so we just kind of started chatting about that, and then all of a sudden we're like, maybe there's some sort of link that we can do with Napa. And I'd only previously visited Napa once before we started the company, and I was just fascinated by Napa. And then I found out, actually, only a few months ago, apparently, I think the number of tourists that visits Napa per year is second to Disneyland.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm a huge Disneyland fan, so I go to Disneyland quite a lot. And I was like, there's so many people in Disneyland. That's just insane to think how many people are going there. Obviously, in a different way. It's not so much like with your kids. It's more like, I think, couples going there for weekends and for short-term breaks. But I just love the ambience, I think, of Napa. And all the wineries, they all have their own different style, and it's very hospitable. And I love that kind of thing. And so, yeah, whilst we were sort of starting up the company and I was focusing on our branding and how we want to sort of position ourselves, it was very much looking at, okay, we want something to be super sort of high quality, classy, but with the goal of trying to connect everyone globally to experiencing new wine brands.
There's so much different wineries out there in Napa, and I think it's 500 or 1,000 wineries, which I don't think you can physically fit there in Napa. outside of my comprehension, but worldwide, there's supposed to be so many wineries. But you guys did a great job on branding, might I say, because that was how I got gravitated towards your project, because I saw the experience, I saw the fancy car, I saw the hilltop winery, and I bring my wife every year to celebrate her birthday there. So hopefully she doesn't watch this video, but I would love to see what experience that you're going to curate coming forward. And you guys just launched recently. Tell us about that. You guys launched on Dapper. That's where we met. We met in Las Vegas within a closed niche NBA Top Shop community. Tell us about that. You guys actually offered, I'm not sure if it's for everyone, like the launch was free in terms of value, because you returning or rebate them. You could describe it in terms of flow token back to the community holders. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, for sure. So because we partnered up with Dapper, so we basically organized like a promotion, and so we had like a limited set of people who were joining, who either like creating wallets on Dapper or who had
the first 1,000, right.
So they are basically getting a reimbursement flow, which they can then use for a future purchase of a wine NFT on our platform. And so for us to choose Dapper was super important, because there's a lot of people in the wine world who are not super tech savvy, and there's a lot of people I like who may have heard of blockchain, may have heard of crypto, may have heard of NFTs, but have not taken that first step yet. And so I can imagine if I put myself in the shoes of someone who doesn't know anything about that, and then they start to look at wallet ID addresses, it's just mind-boggling, and it's just confusing, and it's potentially going to scare people. So we were very interested in using Dapper, because Dapper allows you to make purchases via US dollars in credit card, and so that removing that barrier is super helpful. And it's definitely helped. Like the feedback that we've got from so many people in the community is that it's just amazing that you're just setting up a Dapper wallet, and you're making a purchase of essentially almost like a ticket to an experience in Napa or Sonoma, and having that really sort of easy and super simple user experience is the most important thing, at least from my perspective.
Definitely. It was so easy for me to purchase one because I already had all my funds within the NBA Top Shop Dapper ecosystem. How has that been, seeing the community? Where they're from? Is it concentrated? How's that process been so far?
It's been really insightful. So for me, like before we created Libation Labs, I didn't use like Discord as much.
Me either.
And so so for me, like jumping into it was very interesting to see how the community was sort of coming together. Fortunately, like years and years ago, there was this art community called DeviantArt, which I don't know if you've ever heard of, but it's like it's a massive art community, and it kind of started to bring back memories of that. I remember that when I was at school, and I used to use it every single day, and so I saw that connection with Discord. It's just been amazing, because there's a lot of people who are based in the US, but we're also connecting with a lot of people around the world. And it's just nice it's essentially, a connection of people getting together and just taking an interest in wine, and whether it's something as, something like sharing wine memes, or just chatting about a new brand or something which people might be interested in. It's just really cool. And there's so much science behind wine. Like, it's not just like every single bottle tastes the same. There's so many different varietals. And so that kind of like, you can get really deep into the weeds of each one.
Yeah, and I think I appreciate Cuvée because of that. I think you offer a sommelier. Am I correct, within the Discord? Is that for everyone, or is just the holders? So
as part of the NFT offerings, we are going to be adding in a hotline, essentially.
Wow.
And this hotline is it's basically a way that you can just call up and you can get some advice. Now, it's not going to be like a sommelier who is 80 years experience. We're starting off with someone who has there's a thing called the W set, which is basically like a certification, and so we're going to ensure that everyone is certified. And you could just phone up and you could be like, I'm having a birthday party or this or that, do you have any recommendations, or it's my anniversary and I'm cooking a filet mignon. Do you have any suggestions on what could pair with it? And so we think it's really cool. I haven't actually seen anything like that anywhere else yet, and so we were like, yeah, let's try this out and see whether this works.
That would have been super helpful. I'm not sure if the hotline came out or not. I've been in so many different Discords that I might have missed it. I just had a wedding banquet, and I definitely could have used a sommelier because I bought 13 bottles of wine that was not the best, I don't think, and actually did not end up serving that. We actually bought wine from the restaurant. So yeah, definitely super helpful for a beginner like myself who which is the adverse, right? Like you have people that's new to blockchain. I know more about blockchain. I know less about wine, and I want to learn more about wine. That you guys are providing that bridge, which is great. How did you what does Cuvée stand for?
So Cuvée is it's basically a type of, I was going to say it's a type of wine. It's a nomenclature in the viticultural industry, and we basically we knew that we wanted to say collective, and we needed something that would link up with collective in some sort of way. And like I said before, like I wanted it to be sort of classy in some sort of way or form. So I was like, let's see if we can get something with an accent. And so we were like, okay, well, I like both words having the same letter. So I was like, let's try Cuvée. And so yeah, that's basically what we went with. And it's just basically it's a term that's used in the French language for like wine. But yeah, it just sounds really cool.
Got it. Okay, but for the people who's watching us for the first time, the NFT the Cuvée Collective NFT, there's 3 different variations of it, and there so far has 2 been released. Correct me if I'm wrong, and there's going to be 3, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So the first NFT offering that we release is the collector NFT. So this is our sort of like level 1, sort of just starting on when we launched. And so the collector NFT is basically almost like a founding member version, and it gives you preset access to our future NFT drops. Our sort of our timeline of how we're releasing these NFTs is that when new ones come out, if you already have an NFT with us, you have pre-sale access essentially to those future NFTs. But then it also depends on the NFT that you own. And then if you also have the collect NFT, then you have access to that sommelier, the concierge access. And then within Discord, where we do sort of votes on things that are sort of how we want to sort of release things in the future, you basically have like a priority sort of voting status for that. So that's the collector NFT. Then the second one is the wine NFT. And so the wine NFT is what we've just launched our first one right now. And our goal is to start off with doing a partnership with different wine brands every week. And every week up to right now, up to 12 weeks. But the goal is to continue with that. And so we are basically forming relationships with every single wine brand and making a bespoke offering for each one. So our first one that we've just released this week is Robert Craig. And so they are a very high profile winery based in Napa. And so their bespoke offering is that you can go and have a private tasting on their Howell Mountain estate, which is not open to the public. And then in the future, we'll have other wine brands which we'll announce every week to kind of like give a bit of suspense. And there will be ones which are like digital only benefits. So we're catering to people who may not be based in California, for example, and each one is bespoke. And I think that's a really cool thing. And they're all different prices. So we're very much trying to target everyone and not make it be like, it has to be this price point. We want ones in different levels. So that's the wine NFT. And then the third NFT, which is the vineyard NFT, that is where we're looking at sort of higher value, more sort of personal, more private experiences. And that's something that we're still sort of formulating at the moment. So that's kind of what you were seeing on the website a while back with like the private car. So that's what we're ideating right now and what we're going to be doing for that one.
Yeah, that's exactly what I saw. Graphically, visually stunning, and something that I look forward to for for the wife. I see here a hot air balloon, a scenic plane ride, a spa, all things that my wife loves.
Yeah,
So
I
it would
mean,
be
things which are
interesting.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have an idea of when that first one may be? Is that cat out of the bag yet?
Not yet. We were. It will definitely be something that we're looking into for 23. We're going to be looking at how the community responds to the wine NFTs, and how they're, what kind of experiences that they're enjoying of that. But also, we want the experiences to be based on what like the community wants, and so part of that voting status will be, we'll keep exploring what people want, and then we will, before we release it, we'll maybe change what we will offer there. So it's still early days.
Yeah, that's I need to hop in there more and vote on things because that's something that would have interest in me, and that's great to have a community to talk about these as I'm getting more into wine myself. Is there? I know there's in Napa there's a time to harvest, and that's coming up either this month or next month. Is there a in real life event that's going to be planned maybe this year or next year for Cuvée Collective?
So when you say harvest, you mean like people joining the harvest?
Yeah, I heard. I could be wrong, right? There's a whole harvest or grape smashing time in October. I'm not a local, but I went there just in August for my wife's birthday celebration. They talked to us about that. But more the question is, are you going to have an in real life event anytime? No pressure, just curious. Here or anywhere else.
We definitely would love to. So that's the thing. It's a shame because I'm based in London. I would love to see the harvest, because I'm following so many like Instagram accounts of different wineries, and everyone literally is doing that right now. So they're all harvesting their grapes and going through the production process. There was something that I was speaking with Andrew a while ago. So there's a thing, I don't think it's exclusive to Napa or Sonoma, but you could do like barrel tasting. And so you're trying the wine in the casks before they're bottled. And apparently the flavors are just incredible. And it's one of those things that I desperately want to experience. And so those are the kinds of things I would love us to be able to offer, and it depends on the wineries themselves if they can even offer that kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely a really cool thing to do. So we're definitely like looking into it and trying to see, as part of our partnerships, if they can offer it. We definitely can have it as part of the NFT perk.
Yeah, I'm counting on Cuvee Collective to get that access. I'm slowly turning into a liquor, high-end spirits winery YouTube channel. I interviewed the founders of Block Bar, and they are doing high-end spirits, and they talked about how you can purchase barrels in the future, and that would be very interesting of how this space progresses, and you can tokenize in a way, and yeah, there's so many things that we can do. Is there anything that you're working on that you could spill the beans on, or we should just leave it at those three? Because that's plenty already, the 3 different tiers of benefits that you have already.
There's not really that much to spill the beans on. I mean, for the wine NFTs, I mean, the next 12 weeks are just going to be super exciting, because every week we're going to be announcing a new brand. And so if you're already in Discord or you're subscribed to our newsletter, we're basically announcing the information there. We'll basically be able to give like a sort of like a mini reveal just before we do launch it. But yeah, I think the one thing which is really cool is that each one is different. As part of how we're sort of marketing each wine brand, is that like when I'm in Napa, I get to sort of just go and visit the vineyards and go meet those winery partnerships. But our team who are based in Napa, they're flying drones, they're taking photos, we're putting it all together, and it's just amazing to see how different each one is. And at least from my perspective, being the chief creative officer, I want to be able to sort of tell their story. By telling their story, you get to see very intricate things about like the personalities of the owners of the wineries, the bottles, their style, their design, and so these are the kinds of things that when we're putting onto our site, when we're doing the launches, I'm very proud to just see like how each one differs and how cool it is. I think like by the end of this year, we're basically going to have this huge library of wine brands, and you can basically go through each one and you could just see how cool and how different each one is in their own respective ways. And the wines that they're producing are literally phenomenal. They will have their own individual and unique story, and I think it's just really, really cool.
Definitely, that's something that this generation values, and I'm starting to value a lot more. It's just experiences, hearing the story behind it. Because traditionally, when we go to Napa, you're not bunched. It depends on the level of experience that you purchase in Napa, but when you go there physically, sometimes it's more rushed. You know, they don't have the time to share with you the entire A through Z of how they came about and how they created the grapes and the time and effort. And it's different coming from the founders too, where we get a peek inside Robert Craig's insight and hear about it. So definitely the experience is something that I truly enjoy. Is there any rumblings or is there any bottling that Cuvée is going to have their own one day, their own Cuvée Collective wine, a certain grape that people has been voting on? Has any of that talk been happening?
Someone has actually asked that, and they asked that quite a while ago. I think for us right now, our focus is just making sure that we're sticking to our goal of making NFTs super valuable in terms of real world benefits and those experiences. And so will we ever make something like that? Maybe, but I don't know, it's way too early to tell. I guess one of the things that, it's not really spilling the beans that much, but at least our sort of like initial step is like, we're working with one of the wineries where they want to offer the wine bottle to be partially customized for the NFT holder. And so we're kind of working on like a design label. So it's their bottle, but we're gonna be able to just add like a Cuvée Collective sort of like stamp to say it's part of the experience, which I think is really cool, because at least before Cuvée Collective, it was just like, oh, it must be really difficult to make these wine labels for each bottle, and now we're kind of like slightly customizing one of them, which I think is really cool.
Surprising, and not also when I go to Napa, I don't see that available in terms of customization, because they're catering towards a wine experience, not like a tourist like, hey, anniversary. So it makes sense. That's something that definitely I think a lot of people would take advantage of. Amazing. Well, this was not planned. I don't believe, but yesterday, Dan, I got this in the mail, and I just got an email. It said, oh, you have a UPS delivery from Libation Wines. It wasn't Libation Labs, because I knew Libation Labs. Yeah. And I'm like, where is this from? So I see this. I believe this is a handwritten note by Andrew. Yes. I can't tell if it's printed. It's so well done. And it has Andrew's card in there, which great. I'm going to give him a call. It's his phone number now. Did that blur out? I can start calling him and asking him about wine, but I don't even know how I won this. I think I must have entered my information. So you guys are giving out wine.
So we've given out a few to select people, because we just part of like saying thank you to the community. Yeah, the wines that we're basically shipping out are some really awesome wines. I think you've got.
I got the Massican. Did I say that
Massican
correct? Yeah, it's a Sauvignon Blanc.
Sauvignon Blanc, yeah.
It is Friday. and so you do Wine Wednesday tasting, virtual tastings, right? Every Wednesday. Is that?
It might be every single Wednesday. If it isn't, then it will be. But yeah, it's part of like the experience.
Yeah, the note from Andrew says Wednesday, 4:30 p.m. digital tasting. Open this bottle then. So it's next Wednesday.
There we go. It's confirmed.
Okay. Yeah, in our Discord it says too. So okay, I have information that you don't even know. Straight from the CEO. Wow. So you're giving out wine. That's gracious of you guys. And is that an ongoing thing? Well, I'll check out in Discord and see. But that's this because of COVID and also Web3. I've been doing wine. I did my first wine tasting online just this month, and it's an interesting experience. But it kind of brings the community together in a different way. and I really enjoy it. So I definitely hope that it's every Wednesday.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that, because I've actually never done a digital wine tasting. I've only done a physical wine tasting, but I do find sometimes when you do real wine tastings, there's this sort of like, not copycat, but like one person will say something and then everyone latches onto that. So they'll say there's a certain flavor profile, and then you're like, oh yeah, I get that. Whereas I think sometimes maybe with digital, because you don't have that other person next to you who's trying the wine at the same time, it maybe gives you a bit more of an opportunity to kind of like figure it out for yourself. I don't know, this is just my assumption, but it'll be interesting. Like, I don't know whether you had that kind of experience when you were having the digital wine tasting, but maybe you will with that Massacre bottle, and you'll be like, oh, I taste a certain profile before anyone else on the call says anything. So you never know.
Well, I would enjoy the sommelier. We have a sommelier, so if I don't get, the answers or my questions to my answers to my questions, I could ask the sommelier that Cuvée Collective provides. Last question. I know we're wrapping things up here. Is there a benefit to, because there's a lot of NFT projects, that there's benefits to holding multiple NFTs, let's say of the Genesis collection. Is there that benefit, or is there like any rarities, or is there anything of that nature?
So for the wine NFTs, each one, as it's linked to its own brand, what we're doing in terms of the, I wouldn't say it's technically the rarity, but with the idea that we want to launch more NFTs in the future of that same wine brand, you essentially get wine specific pre-sale access that you may not get if you had the founding member collector NFT. That makes it closer to what you would get if you were almost like joining their wine club in a way, because anything that they do release in the future, and it will be another benefit which is very bespoke and as exclusive as we can agree with them, you get the chance to do to book those or purchase those before anyone else. And so that's kind of how we're thinking about it. So there is that sort of exclusivity, and obviously if you want to have a certain benefit and you want to use it multiple times, then obviously you would be looking at purchasing multiple NFTs for those multiple experiences. So it's one of those things. It's like trying it out, and if you enjoy it and there's still availability for that NFT, get another one if you want.
I see. Okay. Yeah. That's something that I'm super curious. I have friends who purchase multiple NFTs for the inherent benefit. So if there was a benefit of that to collect it in the future, then that would be definitely, I want to grab some more in that case. Great. Well, perfect. Thank you for joining us. We would love to have you back on as the roadmap rolls out. I know you have so many more launches before the end of the year, and just to talk about your future experiences. So hopefully we'll have you, come back in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Cuvée Collective, I'll put all the information down below so that everyone who's watching can link it and enjoy what I've been enjoying so far.
Cool. Thank you.
Have a great weekend, Dan.